Hi, Girl Scouts. It's so good to see you all, and so excited that you're joining us here for an Inspiring Futures. So I'm Katie Herstein, and I'm the Program and Events Manager at Girl Scouts of Colorado. And in my job, I feel so lucky to be the one at Girl Scouts of Colorado gets to host this virtual series where we introduce our Girl Scouts to accomplished women in a variety of professions so you can begin to get inspired at what your own future could be like. And we have a perfect partner working with us to bring you this series, College Invest. So College Invest, they're Colorado's college savings program. And it makes it easy for you to save for your education after high school. So it's just basically a fancy way of saying that they exist for one reason, and that's to help you and your families put away money to save for your own inspired future. So I started a College Invest savings plan for both my girls when we moved to Colorado about 10 years ago now. And my oldest daughter is going off to college in the fall. And we're both very glad that we put some money into the Colorado College Invest savings plan so that can help us pay for her future. So it's basically like a piggy bank, but even better because the money that your parents or caregivers put into that plan, it grows tax-free. So when it's used for your expenses past high school for any college across the country, apprenticeship programs, trade schools, the funds from the College Invest Savings Program can help pay for that. So we're going to hear a quick message from College Invest CEO about what she hopes you're going to get out of today's session and the series.
Hi, I'm Angela Byer, CEO of College Invest, and welcome to this episode of Inspiring Futures. Through Girl Scouts, you've learned that if you can dream it, you can do it. And here at College Invest, Colorado's education savings program, we help you get there. And you're never too young to begin to imagine your inspiring future. So how will you impact this world? Will you run your own business, invent a new technology, or maybe even discover a life-saving cure? But wherever your inspiration takes you, the College Invest Savings Plan can help make your dreams a reality. Now, prepare to be inspired.
So next up, a couple of housekeeping items. So I'm recording this session, but when we'll be putting it up on YouTube so that other Girl Scouts that might have been not able to join us tonight, they can watch it in the future. And but we'd love to see your faces now. In the recording, I'll be able to cover up your faces, so it won't be public facing on YouTube. So go ahead and join in the video or unmute yourself. We'd love to have you interacting. So next up is, of course, we have to start all our meetings with our Girl Scout promise and law. So you can unmute yourself or not if you want to join along with me. So on my honor, I will try to serve God and my country and help people at all times and to live by the Girl Scout law. I will do my best to be honest and fair, friendly and helpful, considerate and caring, courageous and strong, responsible for what I say and do, and to respect myself and others, respect authority, use resources wisely, make the world a better place, and be a sister to every Girl Scout. And with that, I would love to introduce you. Our guest tonight is Miss Colorado Rodeo 2022, Ashley Baller. So at the stroke of midnight of this past January, I guess December 31st, Ashley Baller was crowned Miss Rodeo Colorado. And so I want to welcome her to this inspiring future. It's going to stop sharing my screen and welcome Ashley.
Thank you so much, Katie. Thank you for the wonderful introduction. I am so excited to be speaking with all of you young ladies today. This is just a really fun opportunity for me to be able to share with you what steps I took through high school and college to be successful throughout the beginning stages of my professional career. So I'm really eager and excited to share with you what it means to me to be Miss Rodeo Colorado, what that role looks like, and as well as the previous roles that I had, which contributed to who I am today. So we're going to talk a little bit about college, high school, scholarships, and all in the end give you some tips about what you can do to start setting yourself up for success professionally. So I am going to share my screen again. And last time I got some good practice with it sharing. So let's make sure that we get started on the right slide. And Katie, if you wouldn't mind letting me know that it's...
I can see it.
Okay, we're presenting okay?
Perfect.
Beautiful. Well, as Katie had mentioned, my name is Ashley Baller and I am Miss Rodeo Colorado. And I would like everybody to feel comfortable, have fun, ask as many questions as you want. This is your time to learn and engage. And if you're not as comfortable asking a question out loud, definitely feel free to send them in the chat. But I will be pausing after each slide for you to ask questions for me. Uh-oh, let's hope it turns. Okay, so what we're going to talk about today, today's agenda, I'm going to let you know a little bit about myself, about Miss Rodeo Colorado, my journey to my professional career, my first job, how you can get involved in the equine and agricultural industry, and what you can do now to prepare for your future, as well as some different tips to help find your path in life. So about me, I am 25 years old. I'm from Parker, Colorado, and I graduated from Colorado State University in 2018 with a degree in equine science and minors in business and Spanish. I'm a first-generation cowgirl, which means that nobody else in my family had any idea how to ride a horse. They knew that they existed, but I was the first one to get that started and make that introduction to my family. So the horse really paved the way for success in my life, and some fun ways that I found to engage with my horse was through a program called 4-H. And we'll talk a little bit more about this in a little bit, but 4-H is all across the nation, and it's a really fun opportunity for those who are interested in agriculture and horses to get involved, whether you have an animal or not. So that's how I engaged with animals growing up in high school. After graduation, I moved to Amarillo, Texas, where I worked in the American Quarter Horse Association International Department as the manager of multilingual resources and communication. Another topic we'll dive into a little bit deeper here in a little bit. But AQHA is the world's largest equine breed registry. So this was my dream job and one that I added on all of my scholarship applications. So I was really excited to be able to obtain that career right out of school. And now the turquoise crown was calling, so I am officially Miss Rodeo Colorado. This has been a dream of mine for about a decade. The rodeo queen bug bit me, I like to say, when I was 12 years old, and I just couldn't let go of that dream. So I'm really excited to be able to do that today. Okay, so who is Miss Rodeo Colorado? So as Miss Rodeo Colorado, I will be traveling more than 50,000 miles across the state and the nation, promoting the sport of rodeo, agriculture, and educating those who have been in the industry and participants of it for their entire life, and those who are hearing about it for the very first time. So my job is to make sure that everybody feels comfortable and able to engage in our industry. So what that means is that I am someone who's trained to speaking on stage, in front of the camera, during a media interview, sometimes off the back of a horse, in a crowd, on a stage, wherever that may be, so that I can effectively communicate my message. So what I promote is the official sport of rodeo, and the world's first rodeo is actually in Colorado in Deer Trail in 1869. So in addition to that, I promote the ways of the West. So our rich Western heritage and traditions, which we're really proud to promote because that is agriculture. So that's how your food gets to your table each day. Agriculture is involved in nearly everything in your life, whether you know it or not. Could be the chair you're sitting on, how you got to school or work in your car, or just, I mean, it's everywhere. So it's really fun to be able to teach everybody about how important agriculture is, because we need it to make sure that we're able to feed the next generations of thousands of people all around the world. So as a rodeo queen, you can see here that I was at the National Western Stock Show in Denver earlier this winter carrying sponsor flags. So we do a lot of brand ambassador type activities as well. So we have sponsors which help to pay for our years. We'll make school visits to educate young kiddos, and we'll find ourselves sometimes in Florida or South Dakota or anywhere across the nation to celebrate what we're passionate about with others and hopefully help to guide others to this sport and way of life as well. Before I tell you a little bit about rodeo, does anybody have questions about what it means to be Miss Rodeo Colorado? Great. So Rodeo 101, there's so much to learn, but in a nutshell, there are now 8 events that are accepted within the Professional Rodeo Cowboy Association. And I'm really excited about that because it's a new ladies event that we can see in many of the approved and sanctioned PRCA rodeos. So breakaway, you can see in the top right corner, we have a cowgirl that has roped a calf, and as soon as she ropes, then she pulls the slack and the time stops. So we love that for our ladies that new event was added. We also have the barrel racing. Sometimes you may have heard it as chasing cans. And there's 3 barrels set up in a cloverleaf pattern, and a cowgirl races around them as fast as she can. Fastest time wins. We have another timed event for the cowboys called steer wrestling. So as you can see here in the top left, we have a cowboy, 2 cowboys, and one of them is coming off onto a steer. Sometimes they can be about 800 pounds, pretty big. So the time stops when he gets that animal to the ground. Then you have your rough stock events, and that's where you can see this cowboy on the bucking bull in the bottom left corner and on the saddle bronc horse in the middle here. There's also an event called the bareback riding, and that is where the cowboys try to do an 8-second ride without a saddle. So in the rough stock events, they're judged by a point system, and they have to stay on by 8 seconds. If they don't make that 8 seconds, they're unfortunately out of the money for that rodeo. In addition to that, there's a team event called team roping, and the cowboys come out of a chute. Someone ropes the horns of the steer and someone ropes the heels, and the time stops when both ropes are tight. So that is the sport of rodeo, and it all came to be through just daily practices on the ranch. And what I always like to emphasize is how well we take care of our animals, because they are our livelihoods, they're our athletes. So whether it's a calf, a steer, a horse, we're making sure that they have clean water, lots of food, primary vet and farrier care so that they're able to do their jobs and so that we can enjoy them. Any questions about rodeo? Great.
There's one question in the chat, but I let her know that you'll be answering it soon.
Oh, beautiful. Okay, thank you so much, Katie. So my mission as Miss Rodeo Colorado is, so I'm the very first Latina Miss Rodeo Colorado, and to me that is a huge responsibility, since I can speak Spanish, to be able to bridge the gap between English and Spanish speakers in our industry. So I'm really excited to be able to do that, as well as show to others that you don't have to come from generations of ranching or farming to get involved with the industry. I grew up in a suburb and had to drive out to my horses, and I'm just so passionate about this world. It's done so much for me, which I'll tell you all about here in just a little bit, but I want to show others that the entry to access is quite lower than we all might think. So I'm really excited to showcase kindness and what I'm passionate about. So you might be wondering, how does one win the title of Miss Rodeo Colorado? Well, I'm excited to tell you all about how that is done. And what I love about rodeo queening is that it taught me how to strive for my own level of excellence, which I will continue to do for the rest of my life. But it taught me how to public speak, how to carry myself, whether I'm just writing an email, answering the phone, on a stage, walking through a crowd, or even on a horse. I used to be really shy. You could not get me out to talk to anyone, and this really pushed me out of my comfort zone. So growing up, I held 5 local titles. So young ladies can hold local titles anywhere throughout the state for local rodeos, local fairs, and I did 5 of them. So that was back home here in Elbert County. I held some with the Deer Trail Rodeo. That's the world's first rodeo in Colorado, which is really cool. And as well as the Elizabeth Stampede. So after those titles, I graduated from high school, went to college, started my professional career, but knew that the turquoise crown would forever be calling my name. So I took a leap and tried out. And in order to win, you must compete in a variety of categories. So that includes modeling, answering impromptu questions, and there's 3 of them. So there's current event, knowledge-based as far as rodeo is concerned, and then also equine knowledge and industry knowledge as well. So there's 3 current event impromptu questions and extemporaneous speech. And that means that we're given a topic and 10 minutes to prepare and a minute, 30 seconds to memorize and give the speech on stage. And then there's also the personal interview portions and the horsemanship portions, of course. So essentially, they want to know that you can speak on stage, handle yourself professionally, and that you're comfortable and confident in the role that you will be in for the year, and that you can ride a horse safely and always, keeping that horsemanship knowledge in mind. So at the Miss Rodeo Colorado pageant during the Greeley Stampede in 2021, which is home of the Miss Rodeo Colorado pageant, I won the categories of appearance, personality, horsemanship, and speech. So I worked really hard to be able to make sure that I was brushed up on all of my industry knowledge, all of my current events, make sure that I was skilled with interviewing as well as speaking on stage and riding a horse. So before we talk about my adventure, does anybody have questions about the way in which someone earns a crown?
I actually do. Ashley, I have one question about, everything that you've learned about sort of just the way you mentioned, just even down to emails and how to properly, talk into emails and stuff and things. Did you learn that through college, or did you learn sort of extra programs that you did, or through rodeo programs, or where did you learn those skills?
Yes, so I learned those through a variety of different avenues. And that's some of what I'm really excited to share, because what I've done is Miss Rodeo Colorado was always a goal of mine. But what I've done through high school and college and in my first career was ensure that I took the steps necessary to educate myself on how to conduct myself in a professional atmosphere so that I was prepared to do so as Miss Rodeo Colorado. So I will be diving in shortly about what that looked like for me and what steps I took to ensure that I could do that effectively. Thanks, Katie. So my adventures so far, I have state queens all across the nation. There's some as far as Alaska, some as far as Hawaii. I found myself in 35 rodeos so far, some in Florida and some in Rodeo Rapid City in South Dakota. So you can see Mount Rushmore up there. You can see that we wear chaps, we wear a crown and a sash when we're representing. I also have a truck that I use to carry my sponsor ship logos, as well as to get me from point A to point B, to carry my horses. And sometimes you find yourself in interesting experiences beyond the rodeo arena, maybe with a gator, depending on the state. So what's in store for 2022? In November, I will be headed to the bright lights of Las Vegas to run for the title of Miss Rodeo America. And before that, though, and as you can see, these 2 ladies down here, this is Miss Rodeo America in the red shirt, Haley. Currently, she was the former Miss Rodeo Colorado last year. And you can notice the difference because of the difference in crowns. So beyond that, and prior to that, I'll be visiting a variety of different rodeos throughout the state of Colorado and nation, as well as a variety of different social and community events, supporting my community and educating others about agriculture. So my life had quite a bit going on though prior to being a rodeo queen. So this was a goal of mine, but there was a lot of steps I took so that I was successful in not only obtaining this title, but my professional career. So I went to school at Colorado State University, like I mentioned, but prior to that, I knew that it was important to me that I earned an education. And growing up, I had a single mom, and her grocery store salary was not able to cover my college aspirations. So I made sure that I was setting myself up for success starting in middle school and then through high school so that I was able to obtain enough scholarships to be able to graduate debt free. So that was a goal that I made for myself so that I was able to do so. So I involved myself in FBLA, which is a business leader organization, DECA, a marketing one in my community. And I took on as many opportunities as possible where I could establish myself as a leader so that it looked really great on those scholarship applications and that I was more prepared for college because I knew that I needed to graduate debt free. In addition to that, I took on a lot of different volunteering opportunities, which actually led me to a variety of different internships that I held throughout my time at Colorado State University. And during my time at Colorado State University, I realized that it was important that I diversified myself within the industry that I was going towards. So half my family spoke Spanish, but I was never taught it. So I added my minor my freshman year of college at CSU, and I failed about every test for the first semester. It was extremely excruciating, but I persevered and I did it. And I'm just so proud that I did because it really boosted my scholarship applications at the time, but then also my the steps to my professional career at the American Quarter Horse Association. So at school, it was important for me that I added my Spanish minor and my business minor, in addition to learning about all things horse. And the reason I did the equine science program at CSU is because that was the school that allowed or allotted the most scholarship dollars. So in addition to that, I did the same thing that I did in high school because I knew that, okay, what's after college? A career. So I was involved in many leadership organizations such as Equine Science Stewards, Legends of Ranching, which is a colt starting and student development organization at my school. And I took on a variety of different internships with larger names within the agricultural and equine industries so that I was able to get my foot in the door and get some hands-on industry experience, which is extremely important if you're wanting a career out of school, is learning what you're interested in and why and what steps you can take to get there. So in addition to that, I realized that I had a love for studying abroad. So I took some time and I lived in Spain for a summer so that I could experience different cultures and put my Spanish to use. But after college, or right before graduation, I realized that I still needed to learn a little bit more. So what I did is I made a list of all of the industry experts and professionals that I really wanted to learn from, and I scheduled and conducted educational interviews with them to learn more about who they are, how they got to where they are, and what tips they had for me. So we'll get into more of my tips for you later, but that was something that really helped me, and I know it would help you too. So after school, I got one more internship to get one more really great hands-on industry piece of experience. And throughout all of this, what I learned was that it's really important to get to know your classmates and get to know your professors, because at the end of the day, those are the people that you're going to be networking with later in life. And I learned that it's really important to try new things, take risks, learn everything, say yes to experiences, and participate and join clubs and get involved. So just very briefly, this is my horse Angel, my horse Jack, he's the white one, and to the right is my paint horse Jasmine, and those are the horses that I showed growing up. I still have the darker colored horses. Those are my mares that I compete on in barrel racing and use at my rodeos. So right out of school, I applied for, well, I'd started with the National High School Rodeo Association, and I'd obtained that job through a previous internship. But my dream job had recently, at the time, posted a listing for the manager of multilingual resources and communication within AQHA International. And it was quite interesting because this was the job that I wrote on all of my scholarship applications. I didn't anticipate getting it until I was in my 40s, but right out of school, I had a professor send me the link to this job posting, and he recommended I apply for it. So I decided, well, you can never get too much interview or resume writing experience. So I went ahead, I took the risk, and I ended up getting the job. So that's another little thing that I would like to mention to you all, is that faking it till you make it really does work sometimes, and that it's important to get to know, as I'd mentioned, your community, including your professors, because those are the people that are going to end up getting you places in life, including your next job. So that's something you can keep in mind in middle school, high school, as you're moving on forward. So at AQHA, I worked with 137 different countries around the world and people there who were all passionate about the horse. So it was my job to ensure that people were educated. So I developed a multilingual resource library that's on AQHA International's website, which includes languages in Portuguese, Spanish, Italian, German, French, Danish, Finnish, lots of interesting languages. And that job also brought me to Mexico City. So you can see up here in the top left corner with the horse, they named a race after me, which was actually really cool. I spent some time in Germany registering horses there and promoting the horse. And then in the bottom left, that was our headquarters in Amarillo, Texas. And we had one of our affiliates from Colombia come and visit. And then in the other box there, that was a recent trip that I made to Italy, doing the same thing that I was doing in Germany, which was educating others about the American quarter horse and finding different ways and solutions that they needed for us to implement back home to make it easier for them to do business with us. So this was my dream job. I loved it. I did it for 3 years, and I just really learned a lot about how to conduct myself in a professional environment. So again, taking risks and saying yes to the opportunities because it worked out. And I'm really glad that I actually got my Spanish minor because I specialized in the Latin American region in Spain. So I put my Spanish to use quite a bit in that job. In addition to that, that's also where kind of just tying back to the study abroad experience that really played a significant role at AQHA, because I learned what it was like to work with different cultures and how I needed to think differently to be able to help people like that. So next, we're going to talk a little bit about what you can do to prepare yourself for success in high school, college, and beyond. But before I do that, I wanted to see if any of you had any questions about what we've talked about through my experiences in high school, obtaining scholarships, applying for a first job, anything like that. Okay, we'll keep moving right along. So it's important that you know that there are a variety of different ways that you can get involved in the industry. A lot of people think about, oh, well, that's a vet. Well, it turns out there are way more things you can do in the equine and ag world beyond being a vet. So at CSU, we took a variety of classes in business, nutrition, genetics, research. You can take your equine interest the business route, like I did, where they're working at a breed organization or for a equine facility. Maybe you're managing the facility for events throughout the year, event management. There's so many different things that you can do within the equine and ag world without being a vet. And in addition to that, you can work at universities. And if you're interested in research, you can help to identify what the next big finds are in genetics and nutrition to ensure that we're feeding our animals better every day. Right now, though, what you can do is get involved in 4-H. So this is just a quick little Google search away if you haven't heard of it before. And they offer many programs beyond just horses if you're interested in that. In addition to that, they have Future Farmers of America, and you wouldn't believe it, but there are a lot of more riding clubs around people's hometowns than you might think. So if you've always wanted to ride a horse but never really been engaged with them before, I encourage you to take the leap. But if you don't have an opportunity to ride near you, you can still learn about it, no problem. A lot of breed registries have a lot of opportunities to learn about the horse, and so many educational resources that you can view videos through and partake in clinics and learn through about different topics through industry experts. In addition to that, a lot of you who might be in high school may or may not have to obtain some volunteer hours. So you can get some of your volunteering hours in at equine therapeutic riding centers, potentially some animal shelters if they have some larger animals like horses or livestock animals like cattle there. And then, like I'd mentioned, you don't have to have a horse or a ranch animal to get started and to learn more. Like I said, I am a first generation cowgirl, and I knew that that was the way I wanted to take my life. So I worked hard to be able to find my way in this industry so that I could learn the styles, learn the practices, and understand why the horse was important to me and so many other people. So next, we'll talk about what you can do now to prepare. But before I do that, I want to know a little bit about you. So could one or two, or whoever wants to share, tell me a little bit about what you are excited for in your future, what you want to be when you grow up? I know we might be shy, but if one can do it, or if we don't have any volunteers, maybe Katie, you can tell us how you decided how you wanted to be when you grew up.
Yeah, and well, Cora had said that she wants to work with animals.
Awesome.
And looks like Anna Lucia is going to type something. Oh, Anna Lucia asked if you could repeat the question.
Oh, yes, of course. So what do you know what you want to be when you grow up? And if so, what is that?
Hi, yeah, could I answer this through here or through the chat?
Oh, absolutely, through here. Yes, I would love to hear your voice.
Yeah, hi, sorry. Excuse me, my mom's on the call. So, I would like to be a museum curator or a surgeon.
Ooh, that is really cool. I love the diversity in those two interests. I was recently at the Pro Rodeo Hall of Fame Museum, and I was speaking with the individual who managed the artifacts there, and I have a friend who managed the artifacts at the Hall of Fame for the American Quarter Horse. So I know that's a really fun one. Surgeon, you must be smart.
And Athena said that she wants to be a whole bunch of things. And which was work with animals, maybe a therapist, wildlife conservative, vets, and a bunch of different things. This is great.
Wow, I love it. I love all the interests. And I know that we're all, I'm still young. I'm only 25 and I'm still learning what I want to be when I grow up. It'll be an ongoing adventure for me, as it is for everybody. So I think it's really fun if you have a wide range of interests, because you just never know where you can learn and what's going to be the next step. So before I continue, Katie, is there anybody else who has shared their who or what they want to be when they grow up?
No, I think we got it all.
Awesome. So, all right, we'll just go ahead and keep rolling right along. So this is a photo of me when I was very young, I think 12 years old or so. And this is on my horse Jack that you saw earlier, the white one that I showed with growing up. And at the time, I was not that confident of a rider and was not as experienced as I am now. And neither was my horse, but I worked hard and I persevered because I knew that I had a lot of dreams. I knew that I wanted to be Miss Rodeo Colorado Miss Rodeo Colorado, and that I wanted to play a significant role in the equine and ag world. But being that I didn't grow up with years and years of experience or a strong family background, I knew that I had to take it upon myself to learn and put myself in my own cowgirl boots. So I wanted to give you a couple of tips on what you can do through your younger years now in high school and middle school, and then beyond as you're making the steps to being a college student and then taking on your first job or your first career. So as I mentioned earlier, it's so important to be involved in your community and with people. And so it's really great that you're in the Girl Scouts, because there's no other organization that's better than teaching you about community and how to be professional and what opportunities there are out there. So make sure that you're taking advantage of different opportunities where you can learn how to be a leader and learn how to work within a group and a team, and different ways that you can find to make a difference in this world. In addition to that, make sure that you are applying for scholarships. So I know that if you're younger, scholarships may not be on your mind, but as you get older, the important thing to keep in mind is what you need to do now to ensure that you can successfully obtain scholarships. So College Invest, I think it's so awesome that they're supporting this program, because that's a fantastic way to set yourself up for success in the long run, financially. And when you're applying for scholarships, just being mindful about what you can do to boost yourself as a young individual to ensure that you can get those merit-based and need-based scholarships. In addition to that, make sure that you are pushing yourself out of your comfort zone. So if you're comfortable, you may not be learning enough or pushing yourself hard enough. There's often days where I've learned that I learn the most when I get home and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, what the heck just happened? That was so stressful, but it's because I was learning. So push yourself out of your comfort zone and try new things always. And then also get involved with things that you're interested in. Sometimes you might find your passion through trying something, or you might find it what your passion isn't through trying something. So I worked at the equine breeding reproductive facility at CSU, and I realized that breeding was not for me, that I wanted to be more in an office and using my voice to impact change. That said, breeding is fantastic and really fun to learn about. And then volunteer. Make sure that you're out there serving your community and keeping your servant's heart warm. Also, begin working on your personal application. So who are you? What are you interested in? Because that's going to play a major role when you start having personal interviews and creating a job application, or when you're applying for college. Also, work with your school counselors and future college advisors to find opportunities and scholarships. They want to help you, so make sure that you're using them. I was into my counselors in high school and my advisors in college very frequently, so I could see how they could help me because they were trained in that. In addition, seek mentorship. So reach out to industry experts. They want to help. I found some incredible mentors growing up. I found my first mentor when I was in middle school. She's someone I'm still friends with today, and I just continued to build upon that. And actually, all of my mentors have been women. So I really valued that other women wanted to invest in me, and I'm really excited to be able to give back to people later. So value mentors and industry experts. And then practice your communication skills. This is something that you can practice now as a youth. So ensure that you're comfortable holding a conversation with people. Make sure that you know how to answer the phone properly, how to send emails, how to send messages, because it really does make a difference, and people notice whether you realize it or not. You never know who's watching, and that includes on social media too. So be smart about what you're posting if you're at the age to post, and don't post it if your grandma wouldn't want to see it. Also, moving on to more fun things. Well, before that, make sure always when you're older, keep this in mind. Just save this in your back pocket for when you're older and maybe more boring like me. But make sure that you're able to interview and have a great resume and cover letter. And now we're finally moving into what's more fun. So set goals and achieve them. Don't be afraid to dream. Be a risk taker, be bold, and be passionate. A lot of the opportunities I found in life were through taking a risk and through being excited about what I was learning and what I wanted to learn and not caring what other people thought, and just learning how to be comfortable and confident in my own skin. And that plays a major role as Miss Rodeo Colorado because there's so many eyes on us. So I practice on a daily basis and throughout the day what I can do to ensure that I'm boosting my confidence and using that confidence to shine a light to others. So I want to give you some tips about finding your own path. But before I do that, does anybody have questions about preparing for life ahead, whether that be for opportunities in high school or little things where maybe just working with your friends or your family on your dreams? Does anybody have any questions or anything like they'd like to add?
We did have 2 questions in the chat, but they're not related to that. But one was, how long did you visit your horse per week when you were younger?
Great question. So I visited my horse, if not every day, I tried to go out 4 to 5 times a week. So I kept my horse at my grandpa's house, my step grandpa, and he wanted to ensure that I learned a work ethic at a young age. So although I grew up in a suburb, my mom would drive me out to the plains of Colorado almost every evening so that I could clean my horse's stall and feed them.
Okay, and how long are you going to be Miss Rodeo Colorado? And is there only one Miss Rodeo Colorado?
Great question. So I am the 66th Miss Rodeo Colorado, but we serve in 1-year terms, I guess you could say. So during the pandemic, it was an interesting year because every state title holder was actually offered 2 years. So the Colorado before me received 2 years to serve in this capacity, but I will be receiving 1, and fingers crossed, I will be winning the title of Miss Rodeo America this November so that I can continue to be a voice in my world about what I'm passionate about as the First Lady of Rodeo in the United States. And there is only one of us.
That would be so exciting.
Yes.
Does anybody have any other questions before Ashley continues? Okay.
Awesome. So I wanted to include some photos about how I found my path that were a little bit different than the rodeo or equine world, because I felt they're a little bit more, a little bit easier to relate to. So just for example, my international and travel experience was something that I never thought about growing up or in high school. And I never thought that that was something I wanted to do, but I got a wild hair one day and applied for this opportunity in Spain that I'd mentioned earlier. And that is how I learned that I really had a passion for culture and traveling. And I took a risk. I guess I've taken many risks, and I did it, and I just had so much fun. So I've now been to several countries around the world, and later after Miss Rodeo Colorado and hopefully Miss Rodeo America, I aspire to earn my master's in business administration in Spain so that I can continue to hone in on my Spanish speaking abilities. So here's just some fun photos of me, one in Madrid, one in Toledo, and then one in San Sebastian, which is where I did my study abroad with one of my great friends, Amanda, there. So that was a really fun way that I learned about the rest of the world, made some fun friends from all over the United States and some even in Spain. So I just really encourage you all to do what you can to find your own path in life, and don't be afraid to try something new and have fun with it along the way. So for me, just to briefly sum up my history, I started in 4-H, did not grow up with horses, but showed throughout the years and was involved in every youth and professional and character development organization that I could get my hands on, whether that was marketing or business or something that was more horse focused, like the equine science stewards or my horse judging years. And then I did everything I could to apply for as many scholarships and grants as I could to be able to graduate debt-free, which I did. And the mentoring and class and organization experience that I gained throughout a youth and into college helped to boost me for my first career at the American Quarter Horse Association. And now I feel a lot more confident because of my previous experience as Miss Rodeo Colorado. So earlier, the younger gals asked, how do I pay for my year? And that is a great question. And I pay for my year through sponsorships and fundraising. So although now I no longer receive a salary, I ensure that I can pay for my horses and everything that life requires through fundraising opportunities, which I've successfully done. So if you would like to learn more about myself as Miss Rodeo Colorado, you can find more information at missrodeocoloradopageant.com. And if you're old enough to access social media, we have pages on Facebook and Instagram, and that's how you can keep up with my travels this year. So you'll get to see all of the places I go and learn a lot about this industry along the way. So today is National Agriculture Day in the United States, and it's really exciting to be able to share all that I'm passionate about with you all. So questions, please ask me something. If not, I'm going to start asking some questions about you. And it can be anything as far as what I feed my horses, what my dreams were, any silly experiences I've had along the way. Feel free to ask them all.
Allison had a question about horse riding lessons and how much they cost. And I imagine it probably varies throughout different places how much they would cost.
It does, but I'm so excited that we have a question like that because believe it or not, there are a variety of different instructors that are willing to work with their exhibitors or participants on rates that are more affordable to them. So growing up, it wasn't easy for me. My family didn't have a lot of money, so I found unique ways to get involved. So in exchange for riding lessons, I would clean stalls or clean barns or help take care of people's gardens so that I was able to ride horses. But to answer your question, the cost usually ranges from they can get pretty high, but I would say that they start around $20 to $30 a lesson.
Okay. Athena asked about any silly experiences. So if you have a fond memory of something silly that happened.
I do. So most recently, I took a trip to Kissimmee, Florida, where I saw all of my other Sash sisters, and that's what we call our friends from all across the nation who are also Miss Rodeo. So Miss Rodeo Arkansas, Miss Rodeo Wyoming, California, all of those. And we had just finished up a Rodeo Queen clinic. So that is an event where I taught other young ladies how to be a rodeo queen, how to do a personal interview, how to conduct themselves on stage, and what they could do to polish up their riding skills and riding ability. And I had to get to Florida by 8 a.m. the next day. So I took an overnight flight. I was a little bit groggy, but we have to travel in our attire. So with the cowgirl hats, with the crown, the sash, everything. And I had a big suitcase. Believe me, I always overpack. And I went up the escalator and I ended up falling down the escalator. My hat box flew, my suitcase tumbled me over, and my purse definitely poured out. So that was just a moment for me to remember to not take life so seriously, because even though horses can buck you off, sometimes escalators can too.
That's a great story. I love it. Cora also asked, has this been your first time trying to be Miss Rodeo Colorado? Or can other women, keep trying?
Yes. So, and I'm so sorry, my camera between this call and the last call, it got a little fuzzy. So I'm sorry about that, everybody. But I tried out for Miss Rodeo Colorado for the first time. And won, which was a huge answered prayer for me. Typically, it takes about 2 to 3 tries to win, but I'm glad that it worked out because turns out I was going to age out. That it's recommended that girls try out multiple times just in case they don't win.
Right. Okay. And I know there was another one that I wanted to get to. Let me just check. I like this one about any other additional tips on how to converse with other people better. I remember we have a new CEO at Girl Scouts of Colorado, and the CEO before her, I was asking her like what she found that girls found the hardest thing about doing their gold award, which is the highest award you can do in Girl Scouting. And the answer that girls gave her was talking on the phone was the hardest thing. And I thought that was so interesting that girls, as you will probably agree with me, Girl Scouts, that it's much more texting and chats and Snapchats and things that are not as used to the telephone, which they may have to do once they start interviewing or things like that. So that just came to mind to me. But anyhow, the question is for you, Ashley, if you have any more tips on how to converse, better ways to converse with people.
I would love to answer that question. Yes, and that's a really funny story. I've never heard that before, but I could see it because you couldn't easily convey your message with facial expressions. You'd have to, and there's, you couldn't tell when someone was done talking because there'd be an awkward pause. So that's really interesting insight. I could see that. But for me, before running for Miss Rodeo Colorado, I was working from home by myself and I didn't see real life people very often. And I found that I'd lost my personality. So I had to find my personality before I ran for Miss Rodeo Colorado. And part of finding your personality is getting comfortable with who you are and how you talk to other people. So what I did was I practiced talking. I would try and hold conversations with the gas station attendant. I would try and hold longer conversations with people who intimidated me, my grandma. But what I recommend to everybody is to just do it, and practice makes perfect. So essentially just getting comfortable with who you are, what you want to talk about, and being confident. You'll always be nervous. I still get nervous before big interviews or speaking on stage, but you just have to know that your brain will still be there afterwards, and it's okay if you sweat a little bit because everybody does.
Awesome. Any other questions, girls? Awesome. So did any of you get to the Western Stock Show in January? That was a lot of fun. We had a Girl Scout day, and one of you did. That's awesome. It was so fun. So hopefully we'll have it. We're in the works of doing another Girl Scout day next year. So just keep that in your pocket for next January. It'll be a lot of fun.
Beautiful. We would love to see everybody there. I believe that I saw some of the Girl Scouts on that really fun day, and I'm so glad if whoever went, I was there at the stock show, and that was really fun. But there's also rodeos that you can get involved in anywhere you are in the country. So if you want help finding a rodeo near you, send me a message and I can help you get connected with the state queen close to your hometown.
Oh, that's a great idea. I love it. Love it. All right. Well, thank you so much, Ashley. It's been so wonderful. And I love the fact that you've told the girls like little tips on how to, just forge their path. And even though that you learn business skills and things in addition to learning about equine knowledge and everything, because you valued so much that you needed the whole picture kind of thing. And kudos to you because you've made it to your dream, and good luck with next year and being Miss Rodeo USA or America, which way do they say it?
America, yes.
America, Miss Rodeo America. So yeah, best of luck to you. And girls, do you want to just say goodbye?
Perfect. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you all. I'm happy to help answer any questions if you reach out through email or whatever which way. Thank you so much for your time. I had so much fun with you all.
Thank you so much for doing this presentation.
Of course.
Thanks, girls, and have a great night.
Bye.
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 Bye.